Now, I'd just like to talk about a book that was important to me and my understanding of certain concepts and ideas. But it's a little bit out of place, and I apologize for that. But this is a book that I relied upon and was my foundation when I was actually when I was a child and when I was a teenager. And this is my foundation text for understanding and more about the concept of Nagas, the serpent spirits that we find in Indian and Himalayan Tibetan art. Now, it's important to understand also that the Nagas of India is one kind of cultural concept, and then the Lu of Tibet is another concept. Now, the Buddhists of Tibet and Tibetan Buddhism has really conflated the two, the Lu of Tibet and the Nagas of India, whereas the Bön religion of Tibet has tried to keep the Lu more within the traditional understanding of a Himalayan, Tibetan, Central Asian idea. And in Tibet, they even have a book, a Bön religious book, which the Buddhists use, called the Lu Bum. It's this collection of Naga, or collection of serpent practices. Actually, there's one title, but there's been at least 5 different versions of the Lu Bum discovered. I think I was actually on a trek in Mustang back in 2008, where we discovered another one in the Marzong caves in Upper Mustang. We discovered even I think that was the 4th, and then a 5th Lu Bum was discovered in Dolpo that same summer by that same team, which I was not part of at that point in time. But the book I want to talk about here, the publication that influenced me and helped me to understand from a Western point of view this concept of Nagas in both India and in Tibet and Central Asia, is a book called Medicine Man of the North Pacific Coast by Marius Barbeau. And it was published by the National Museum of Canada, and it came out in 1958. Marius Barbeau is quite famous in Canada. He is one of the very first anthropologist ethnographers, worked with a lot of the peoples of the North Pacific Coast, which is where I am from. Now, what's really important here about this book is it does spend some time talking about Haida carvers. There's a little bit of emphasis on Haida, the Haida Nation. That's a tribe of indigenous people from the Haida Gwaii Islands, formerly called the Queen Charlotte Islands of British Columbia. But it also relates to the Tsimshian and other tribes and other tribal groups along the North Pacific Coast. So the book is divided up into Haida carvers of medicine men, the career of a medicine man, mystic medicine in real life, and then shamanism and witchcraft. Then there's another section on tales of medicine men, and this is really interesting, because what we learn is that the tribal peoples, the indigenous peoples of the North Pacific Coast, had all of these similar ideas to the concepts of Nagas in India and the Lu from Tibet, except they didn't call them serpents. What they did is they called them primarily the canoe people and then the ocean people, 2 different groups of people. But then they also had the forest people and the sky people. And all of this belongs to magical thinking, magical realism. It does not, these are not real people. These are these societies of beings that are just slightly outside of us. But it is by connecting with the canoe people or the ocean people and sometimes the forest people that the medicine men and the healers would get their songs. So they would get their ability to chant and sing a song that can heal different things. So this is, of course, similar to mantras and dharani and then of course different formulas for curing certain sicknesses and ailments. So to me, this book is really important. It had a very big impact on me and helped me to really understand something of the Naga beliefs and systems within India and Tibet. And so we'll leave it at that. You can press the like button. You can subscribe. You can ask questions. You can suggest a book. You can also join HAR on Patreon for longer videos, unpublished essays and articles, unpublished images or images that are not yet made available on the Himalayan Art Resources website.